The world in the last decade has been changing a lot. Hi, my name is Armando, and I'm going to expose you about these last 3 decades. This is the subject of contemporary war, and this is my third evidence. But first, we need to know some terms. The first one is the globalization, and this is going to be very important in these 3 decades because the world has been changing a lot in this term in the globalization. First, the globalization is a primary and economic process of interaction and integration that associate with social and cultural aspects, and this allow us to maintain a communication with all the world. However, conflicts and diplomacy are also a large part of this history of globalization and modern globalization, and I'm going to expose more detail. Before I start talking and explaining all the crises of the social bloc, I need to speak and explain some important facts that happen in this period of time that caused the crisis. First, in 1980, Iraq invaded Iran and caused a war in Iran and Iraq, which after a few years will become a war greater participation of the US, and which will mark a large part of the history of this war and mainly of US during this last century. But first thing, after the Great Wars and the Cold War, there was a new euphoria and a new way of seeing the world, more calm but not as stable. This by the fall of the social bloc. This was a great fall by Mikhail Gorbachev, who from 1985 onward he made a great change and direction in the direction of the USSR. This caused that in a future, not only the economic and the internal politics of this country will change from a brutal area, which caused serious problems through the world in the sense of that the Soviet Union had been open to the public. The fall of the Berlin Wall in October 1989 also affected and was a cause. This would cause in 1990 the fall of the Soviet Union and this disintegrated federal political structure and the central government of the Union of Soviet Social Republic, which culminated in the independence of the 15th Republic of the Soviet Union between March 11 of 1990. Another important event was the fall of the Berlin Wall, inaugurated in August 1961 in order to prevent the exodus of the population of Eastern to the west, was a symbol of the collapse of the Communist bloc. In 1991, the Warsaw Pact is officially dissolved and Berlin is unified. We also have to remember that the Cold War that had also started in this time. Then, on December 11, 1997, the President of Mexico, Carlos Salinas de Gortari, signed the NAFTA, which was a new investment from Mexico and helped the country to be more connected with the globalization and with a greater part to export and import our raw materials. In this year, put into circulation the new Mexican peso that we use today. Also, on September 3 of 1 year after the United States launched 44 missiles against Iraq, which caused a great deal of damage to the entire world and to the inhabitants of the USA, and clearly to the Iraq and many nearly countries. In 1999, the euro enters to the European Union, which is a single currency in the 12 states, and Iraq formally breaks it with the UN and calls for an end of this oil embargation. And 1 year after, in the new decade, the 2000s, this decade with a great change in humanity and in all the governments and in practically everything. We started with the Putin risk in the Russia and in Mexico, Fox won the elections and break win after 70 years. The governation of the PRI. Also in 2000 was considered the International Year of the Culture for Peace. In the last decade, giant advances have been made in the industrial medicine in all new and innovative creations such as the use of proper function of stem cells against diseases. Also, in 2001, the attack of September 11, or we were a series of four suicide bombing committed on the day in a question in the United States by 90 members of the Al Qaeda by hijacking commercial aircraft to be hit against various targets caused the death of 3,060 people. And this is very important, so I'm going to explain also the next important term that we need to know. Terrorism is the systematic use of the terror used by a wide range of organization groups or individuals in the promotion of their goals, by both nationalism and non-nationalism political parties, right and left. In the last decade, this has been much more common for all the new development and attacks against important places or with this sensibility that the public has had because of the networks of the excess of information. Terrorism in the last decades caused terror throughout the world. Today, we live in a unipolar world, not only market almost by its total by capitalism, but as a maximum power, the United States. This we can see represented in all the advances that have occurred today, both medical and aerospatial, or political and environmental or economics. We can also observe it through the years that it has had many applications in war, as the US, and the always end in their favor, as the one as Iraq and the other in the Gulf. This also because it's one of the founders of the UN. And finally, I want to emphasize that we live in an era where, as I already mentioned, sensibility through networks causes many problems and has changed our daily life. But I also believe that as we have advanced so much in technology, we have managed to have an advance in the technology and communication, that we have grown and improved and be more conscious this digital era has changed us way of seeing the world enormously, but it has also caused people to achieve better and have many facility in his daily activities with using the internet.